House of the Dragon Season 1 had a big ending, and Episode 10 set up a lot of things for the future of the show. And since the show is now officially being renewed for a second season, it might help to know where showrunners will take the show. While Season 2 is rumored to release sometime in 2024, if you can't wait that long, then this video is definitely for you. In this video, we're going through events that transpired in the book, what to expect from the second season, and also just our general theories on what the outline of the season will be. Now, let's get into it. House of the Dragon Season 2 will likely pick up after the ending moment from the finale. Rhaenyra had just received word that her son, Lucerys Velaryon, had died due to the actions of her half-brother, Aemon. Prior to this moment, we had seen Rhaenyra act with a calm and patient mind regarding how she wanted to retaliate on the usurping of her throne. It's one thing to take her crown, it's another to kill her son. Many have referred to this moment as the beginning of the Dance of the Dragons, aka the Targaryen Civil War. If it wasn't obvious from the villainous look in her eyes, if there was anything holding Rhaenyra back from her full force, then it's long gone by now. The final few scenes of the season actually set up quite a bit of context for what we can expect down the line. We had Daemon going to Vermithor, Rhaenys flying off, and Jacaerys also going off on his own mission. These all have major ramifications for what's coming, and what's more likely is that we will see Jace struggle to rally support for his mother. He ends up visiting two locations, in the Eyrie and also Winterfell. Now, at the first of these, he meets Lady Jane, who, similar to Rhaenyra, is a woman that people don't really think should be in a leadership position. Since Lady Jane has never been married before, the jury's still out about her sexuality, and I think that she is meant to depict Queen Elizabeth I from our own time because of her tendency to not commit to anyone, ever. Seeing a lot of herself in Rhaenyra, she basically wants sisters to stick together, so she acquiesces to taking an oath of allegiance. Jace also visits Winterfell, and this would be one of the best places to kick the new season off. The location is, of course, really iconic when we're talking Game of Thrones, but even more important, it would bring the Starks back into the plot, who we saw briefly in the pilot episode. Muckin's True Telling says that Cregan Stark and Jacaerys cultivated a liking for each other and became very good friends. The work says that the prince reminded the Lord of Winterfell of his younger brother who died 10 years before. It says they drank together, hunted together, trained together, and swore an oath of brotherhood, sealed in blood. Bad boys for life. But besides that, there's also an additional comment by Mushroom that could possibly be brought into the show. The idea refers to a girl that Jace ends up marrying that goes by the name of Sarah Snow, also referred to as the Wolf Girl. She was said to be the bastard of Lord Rickon Stark. This could potentially lead to the Starks getting in on some action, according to the text. They had spoken their vows in Winterfell's own Godswood before a heart tree, and only then had she given herself to him, wrapped in furs amidst the snows as the old gods looked on. Now, while the book does say that the entire character might just be a fabrication, dream, or hallucination, I think the showrunners could really dive into this. But besides the Starks, the series also introduced the Valyrian dagger, which wasn't in the book. Now, I'm not trying to speculate, but her being called Sarah Snow, they might try to play with the Jon Snow thing at Winterfell. I'm not sure. This is where the writers go off script, and it's anyone's guess how this will go down, if it does in fact go down. Now, on the other side of this, we have the stuff carrying over from the death of Lucerys, arguably the biggest moment of the show. Now, in this book, this started off a major retaliation from Rhaenyra's side, and Daemon promised her there would be vengeance, a son for a son, as he put it. He went to Mysaria, and she ended up sending 2 assassins into the castle. It's a long and drawn-out tale, but the gist of it, though, is that the 2 assassins make Helaena choose which of her children has to die. She picks the youngest, Maelor, and the assassins instead kill the eldest son, Jaehaerys. Helaena goes insane, as she has one son that died and another that knows his mother picked him to be murdered. Helaena can't even be around the children due to the guilt, and eventually these are taken away from her and put in the care of Alicent. So yeah, I think that is punishment enough. Who knows, maybe she'll end up like Cersei Lannister. I can see their murder being the big thing that closes out the first episode of the season, and they could play around with Jace learning that his brother is dead while we see the consequences of it play out. It's pretty much the red wedding of the Fire and Blood storyline, and it would be one hell of a way to kick off the new season. Aemon didn't know what he was doing, Alicent was just scared her kids were going to get murdered, and Otto just didn't want Daemon on the throne. He murdered his wife and strangled his next one. Now Aegon wants revenge for this, and continuing this eye for an eye mentality, he starts to put his own plan in place. They approached Arik Cargill with a plan to carry out a switch. Arik went undercover as a fisherman and infiltrated Dragonstone while dressed as his brother. The siblings bore a striking resemblance, and this allowed Arik to navigate the castle unnoticed. The mission was to assassinate a member of the royal family, but the book's masters were uncertain whether to target Rhaenyra or another child. Arik encountered his brother during his mission, and the two engaged in a fight. Despite being surrounded by guards and spectators, no one can intervene as they couldn't tell the brothers apart. They exchanged declarations of love before their fatal duel, resulting in both brothers delivering killing blows to each other. Following this, Rhaenyra's faction gained momentum in the conflict. Several lords that had sworn themselves to Aegon started to wonder whether they'd made the right decision, and there was very much unrest amongst his followers. So far, he'd been trying to charm his allegiances, and he'd been resting on the laurels, because he was a man, that they'd join him. Criston urged Aegon to adopt an aggressive approach, using force to warn those who did not support him of their impending fate if they did not remain loyal. As a result, Aegon removed the Hand of the King badge from his grandfather and bestowed it upon Criston. Meanwhile, Daemon and Vermithor's previous actions set the stage for what was to come. Daemon had gone to the caves on Dragonstone to sing to Vermithor about his upcoming rider. Vermithor was initially Jaehaera's dragon, but after the king's death, he had lived without a rider in the caves. Daemon also attempted to gather the other dragons on the island to bolster their forces in what was known as the Suing, which would later become known as the Red Suing due to the high number of casualties who died trying to mount the dragons. Among them was Stefan Darkling, a knight who was introduced in episode 10, so maybe this could be a springboard to an interesting character. These were known as the Dragon Seeds, and they basically were seen as people who had dragon blood in them so they could mount and ride the beasts. These were all gathered up, and there was an attempt to get as many dragon riders as they could. This is when we will likely be introduced to Hugh Hammer, who is a big character in the book. He ends up being the rider that climbs on the back of Vermithor, and this becomes his dragon. Daemon also takes Harrenhal as a stronghold, and this becomes a major location during the war. This would likely play out in the early part of the season. A significant battle involving Rhaenys is expected to take place, which would protect the Valyrian fleet. Rhaenys, riding Meleys, will play a crucial role in the battle, even though her survival until the end of Season 2 seems unlikely. Rhaenys then went to Rook's Rest, which by that point had been attacked by Criston Cole, Aemond, and Prince Aegon. Though Meleys stood no chance against the other dragons, Rhaenys fought valiantly, and Sunfire, Aegon's dragon, made his first appearance in the show. In their encounter, Meleys died, and a burned body was found next to her, unidentifiable due to the extent of the burns. Aegon suffered severe injuries, and half his body was burned, which left him incapacitated. Aemond took the throne, believing he would make a better king. This season is expected to end with Jacaerys' death, similar to his brother's in the previous season. The Battle of the Gullet, protected by Corlys's fleet, may be a significant showdown in the future, as Jacaerys and 4 dragon seeds rode out, and Vermax was shot down by crossbows and grapnels. This pulled the dragon into the sea, where Jacaerys tried to swim. He clung on to some ship's wreckage and was struck by crossbow bolts, which ended his life. Now, whilst all this was going on, Rhaenyra also managed to take King's Landing, but I don't know if they'd have time for that in the season. Who knows, though, but based on the book, those are my thoughts on what we will be seeing next time. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give us a like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this.